I'm live. Yay. Okay. This kind of took a little while to get on. And of course, whenever I go live, sure enough, my dogs are going to start like rustling around and making noises. But anyway, I'm Amy Lane and of Anamkara End of Life Doula Services. I'm an end of life doula. And I love to, as strange as this sounds, I love to talk about end of life. I love to talk about death and dying. We don't do it enough. And so as I, promote communication around end of life. So I'm kind of like a death commentator or communicator. So that's like what I do. And today I thought that I would create a video, and this is a video that I've been kind of like sitting on making, but I'm going to do it today. And it is really about taking the scaries out of funeral homes. So, the reason why I decided to do this is because I don't know, I've always found funeral homes to be a scary place. My first introduction to a funeral home was when my mom died, and I was just a child at the time. So I just thought it was just like this weird place where, dead bodies were there, and there were caskets all around, and it was just like um the whole like decorations was just like, really heavy. I just remember like really heavy velvet curtains, and it just kind of felt kind of like oppressive to me. But I mean, that was many years ago. Um, I just thought that it was just kind of like this kind of scary place, right? Because we're just kind of taught to be fearful of, you know, dead bodies, corpses. It's like, what happens at night when they're there, and who are these people that like work on dead bodies? Like it just seemed really, really frightening to me. And now here I am. I'm working, with end of life, and so I thought that I would talk about some of the stuff that people are afraid of really looking at. And one of the things are funeral homes, right? So there will be a time where either you're going to go to a funeral home, like to possibly visit someone, or you're going to be maybe planning for a funeral for a loved one. And so this is something that may be in your future and that perhaps you need to, kind of face. And that's kind of like what I do, right? I want to talk about all of these rough topics to kind of, like I said, take the scaries out of them. So today we're going to take the scaries out of funeral homes. So just recently, my husband and I had to visit a funeral home to plan for my mother-in-law. My mother-in-law is she's in end stage Alzheimer's. She's in her 80s, and it's something that we needed to do and be ready for. That's the whole thing, is being ready. So part of it is knowing what your loved one wants, and the second part is actually implementing it. So funeral homes help you get there. You don't have to use a funeral home, but there are certain things that have to be done that only a funeral home can handle. For instance, embalming, right? We don't embalm our family members in our homes. That's something that we have to go to the funeral home and they take care of that. Same thing with like cremation, right? You don't want to cremate your loved one in the backyard. That's something that the funeral home can help you with. They don't necessarily do it there, but they can help you. So I just want to kind of just make sure that we understand here. And so I have like my notes here just to sort of keep me focused here, because sometimes I ramble a little bit. So let's talk about what funeral homes do. So there's lots of different funeral homes in your community, I bet. and each one handles things a little bit differently, right? It's just like, if you're looking for a new physician, let's say you want to maybe visit or look at their reviews and see what other people are saying about the funeral home. Might want to talk to relatives and friends who have used different funeral homes just to kind of get a feel of what they're like. So that's what we did, and I got some recommendations from different funeral homes, but the best thing to do really is to make an appointment and to sit down with them. So that means that actually it means like walking through the door, getting into the funeral home and seeing the vibe of the place, right? Because you want to make sure it's clean, you want to make sure it's organized, you want to make sure that staff is available, you want to make sure that the staff is friendly and that they're compassionate. So, all of those things, you're not going to find out how they are unless you actually go there. So, let's talk about what funeral homes do. So, a funeral home does body care and preparation. So, like I said before, I alluded to before, they will embalm the body if that's something that you want to do. And so, embalming the body just means that they are, they're taking care of the body so that it doesn't deteriorate in enough time so that you can have a viewing of the body. It kind of like freshens them up, basically. So that happens if you want like a viewing. And it's also a good idea if you want to transport the body somewhere else, and where, like I said, it keeps the body fresh. So let's say, somebody dies here in New England, and we want to do the burial and the viewing, let's say in California, right? So then you would want to embalm the body to keep it fresh. Um, they wash the body, they dress the body, they can put makeup, nail polish, all of those kind of things to make the body look as if they were sleeping. So they might need, like, let's say, a photograph because the corpse looks a little bit different than when it was alive. So they'll need maybe a photograph for that. And then they do things like they'll store your loved one there. Um, and so they provide refrigeration to keep the body as fresh as possible. Another thing that they do is they'll help you arrange for any services that have to be done, like a funeral or a service, memorial service. So they'll help you coordinate the ceremonies. If you need them to get in touch with, the church or or any place that you want to do the service, they can help you do that. They'll help arrange for visitation hours for you or for your loved one. Um, they will even do memorial services right there for people. And like I said, they provide a facility for gatherings. It's not a place, most funeral homes like don't do like a reception afterwards with food. That's against healthcare codes, health codes. So you can't do that. So they don't you can't serve food in a funeral home. It's just a little something that maybe you didn't know about. They will help you obtain necessary documentation. So you're going to need death certificates for certain things. So you might need a death certificate for things like insurance, life insurance, or bank information, things like that. So they'll help you obtain those things. They'll help you with filing permits. For instance, if you're interested in your loved one or yourself being cremated, you do need to get a special permit for that. So they'll take care of that with you, which is great. And if you need, they'll also assist with insurance claims and military benefits. You know, this is a time, obviously, when you probably are very overwhelmed, right, with the loss of your person. And so you need for somebody to step in that can help. And your funeral home director and those folks can step in and help you. They also, they also sell products, right? It's a funeral home. So they're going to sell things like caskets and urns and um, memorial cards. They'll help with other, memorial items. For instance, you might want to do um, something with the cremation remains, and they can help you with that as well. Um, and they also help with things like creating an obituary. They'll help you figure out, where you want the obituary published. I will tell you that newspapers now, putting an obituary in a newspaper is not cheap these days. So a lot of times what they'll do is they'll just put it on their website on a legacy page, which is great. They'll help you do things like select music for any service or memorial. They'll help design photo slideshows or memorial boards if that's something that you also want. Um, a lot of families like to do that themselves, but it's an additional service which is available through the funeral home. So here's a question that people ask a lot is, do you have to use a funeral home? And like I said, you don't have to use a funeral home, but there are certain circumstances where you're going to have to need a funeral home. So it depends really on your local laws, your state and your town laws, right? So, and again, just kind of consulting, you can just consult with a funeral home and it's free. And they'll tell you what the laws are. It's your preference. It's your family's preference, what you want to do. So families can often handle many aspects of aftercare themselves, such as home funerals. You can actually do that as long as you adhere to the legal requirements. And again, that's where you need to do a little bit of research. So you can have home funerals. A lot of people don't even realize that. They think that they have to use a funeral home, and that's not necessarily the case. Cremation and burial rules, that's a little bit different. So um, I don't have it in front of me, of course. Um, when you, let's say, are interested in cremation, right? It has a lot of laws around it. So again, you have to make sure that you get a permit. Um, and also, if you're burying someone, okay, you need to help. You need like a licensed professional to help you with that as well. But you don't necessarily need a funeral home to help you with that. So you always want to, you know, check out what the health department, your local health department, what they say, and then like I said, you can always consult with a funeral home director. So here are some common burial law stuff. So your death certificate, right? Everybody is going to need that. So all states here in the United States require a death certificate that has to be filled out with the local registrar within a specific time range, and it's usually between 24 and 72 hours. And again, you can do this yourself, or the executor can help, or you can also do this through the funeral home. I will tell you, since I recently did this with the funeral home director, we just gave him permission to do all of that. It's super easy, super easy. What you need to know about body preparation is that most states do not require embalming. You don't have to be embalmed, and your loved one does not have to be embalmed if they don't want to be. Um, so just it says here, most states do not require embalming unless the body will not be buried or cremated within a set time frame. And we kind of like talked about that, right? So you don't want the body hanging around for 2 weeks. You just don't. And if you know that that's going to be the circumstance, then they're going to want you to do the embalming. And refrigeration. If embalming is not done, then the body is often kept cool, either through refrigeration or ice packs. And so if you're doing something like a home burial or home funeral, you'd want to be ready with all of those ice packs. There's tons of information out there on how to do that. You just have to do the research for it. And this is just like a brief thing. Cemeteries, many states regulate where burials can occur with specific laws for establishing or using private family cemeteries. There's a lot of restrictions around burying people in your backyard. This is. So you want to pay attention to that. Transporting the body. So it's important, and this is where funeral homes will help, right? So let's say you're doing cremation. The funeral home will arrange for the body to be taken from the funeral home to the crematorium, and then they'll arrange for the remains to come back to the funeral home for the family to retrieve. So that's something that they will do. And they'll also, the funeral homes will also do things like provide, transportation if you need to get to the church, things like that. Here's some information about cremation. So some states require a period of 24 to 48 hours before being cremated. An assigned death certificate and a cremation authorization form are typically required. And that's something that we're doing for my mother-in-law. So all of that paperwork is already ready to rock and roll. And then scattering the ashes. So there are laws about scattering the ashes. And I didn't really realize this. I thought you could just scatter ashes, but it says here that most states allow ashes to be scattered on private property with the owner's permission, in the ocean, or in designated areas of public land. So, I wouldn't even really think too much about that. Scatter away is what I say, So some specific burial laws that happen in let me see here. I just want to make sure that I'm doing this here. Okay. So I just want to make sure that I feel like I'm missing something here. Maybe I'm not. Oh, here we are. Okay, I'm going to put this here. So here are some alternatives to funeral homes. So again, you can do home funerals, right? Families care for and prepare the body at home, all of those things. They don't really want you to transport the body. You don't want to put, grandma in the Subaru, right, and drive her off to the burial. So you kind of want to have, you might want to do something like maybe rent the hearse from the funeral home. Also, and I have here, hello doggy, death doulas and end of life guides. So these are professionals who, like me, who assist, right, with the non-technical aspects of aftercare death. So we can certainly supervise how you do things and make it less stressful for loved ones. And honestly, I think that as much as funeral homes are a business, they are a business, but they really do provide a service, especially for grieving families, right? It takes a lot of the pressure off of what they need to do, and they can really kind of like grieve and be with their loved one. And I really like that. So I always just kind of like want to just always go back to, paying attention to, the laws in your area. So understanding the laws, right, is really, really important. Let's see. I think one of the things that people talk about is the cost. And let me go get something really quick. It's right over here. Okay, so when you go to a funeral home, they have to, when you sit down for a consultation, and again, the consultation should be free, they're going to give you a price list. They're going to go, here you go. And by law, they have to do this for you. And they will give you it's like a menu, basically. It's like a menu. It's like that, right? It's like a menu here. And you can literally go through and plan what you want, and you'll know the cost of the service. So like here, I'm just showing you here. So here's the basic, let me just go, yeah. So the basic service of funeral director and staff, right? It's just the basic, right? Is $2,600 here for this particular funeral home. So it includes consultation with the family. It includes procurement of authorizations and consents. Getting the death certificate, coordinating plans, providing shelter for the deceased, general administration stuff. So they give you like a whole list of things that will include the caring of your loved one, just the basic services, right? Embalming. So they talk about the price of the embalming. So here, the price for embalmment is $950 if you want your loved one embalmed. Right? If your person, let's say, is an organ donor, there's a fee for that. $250 for that. So there are all these different, like if you need to rent a room for the visitation, there's charges. So it can be very costly, and it also can be pretty reasonable here. So that is the general price list. And like I said, they have to give you that. And then what they do is they'll give you like this. I don't want to like show it to you, but I guess I can just it's kind of like, it's like a worksheet here, like, so that you can go, okay, this is what I want. This is what I want. This is what I don't want. And then the final cost. And so how do you pay for it? Well, there are a number of ways that you can pay for it. So the thing about like life insurance, which is great, I think life insurance is great to have, but it doesn't come like right away, or in like the first week, of when your person has died or you have died. So you kind of need that money in the bank. So you can pay for it, over, a monthly, monthly fee. You can do something like that. You can put money in escrow. So if you have it already, you can put it in escrow, and then you don't have to worry about it. And then maybe, if something changes in the price, or you want something different, you can, pay the balance at a later date. But they really try to work with you. And again, it is a business. But at the same time, it's like anything else, right? Buying a house, let's say, right? You don't want to overextend, right? You want to be reasonable. You can spend a ton of money on caskets alone. Like they don't even. So here's an example. So a casket here right? You can spend here in this particular funeral home between $1,350 and a little over $11,000 for a casket. It's very expensive, right? So you have a casket, and then if you're going to be buried, right, then you have an outer burial container, and that's anywhere between $1,900 and almost $20,000 to bury someone. And that's the same thing like for let's see, for ashes. I mean, you could go on Amazon and buy urns. You can do that, buy urns, and then just hand it over to the crematorium, and then you don't have to pay for it. I like that idea, actually. I think it's just more, I don't know, it's just more personalized rather than getting it back in a cardboard container, because that sometimes happens if you don't have a container, they're gonna give it to you in a cardboard container. Trying to think of what else there's. Things like a wood flag case. If your loved one is a veteran, they'll provide that, and you can spend anywhere between $200 and $450. So it really depends on what your budget is, and I think that they do a nice job in meeting everyone's needs. I certainly do believe that. So, and they really work with whatever religion you are, your denomination. They are extremely knowledgeable about all of those things. So that's certainly something that you need to consider, and your funeral home is going to help you. They're going to help you with that. They really are going to help you with that. They're going to support you. They're going to want to handle everything that you could possibly handle, right? And do it in a loving and supporting way. And they're going to provide you with expert guidance. That's their job, right? That's what you're paying them. That's what you're paying them for. So, going through this process recently for my loved one, it's one thing to, it's one thing to kind of like think about it, because when you're thinking about something, right, you kind of, I don't know, you think of like the worst case scenario, right? Or you have it in your mind that it's going to be really, really difficult. And it's really not that difficult. I mean, we were able to do all of this planning in one night. And then my husband and I went home and we decided exactly what we wanted, filled out the contract, did the escrow, and boom, it's ready to go. It's ready to go when she dies. And that is taking a great deal of pressure, and just makes us feel like we are, making a good decision. And it's not rushed, right? We're not like rushing to make decisions. It's just done. So anyway, that is taking the scaries out of funeral homes. So if you have someone in your life that is maybe advanced in age, get in there and make an appointment. And I promise, once you make these decisions, you're going to feel so much better when you do this. So that's it. So I hope that you enjoy watching this video. I hope that you get some, really good information out of it. Again, pay attention to your state laws and go ahead and visit a number of different funeral homes. This is your loved one, or this could be you. And so you want to make sure that your loved one and you are taken care of very, very well, and that your family is taken care of as well. So that's it for me. Thank you so much for watching, and be sure to subscribe, like, comment, share, do all that kind of stuff. Greatly appreciate it. And everybody have a great day.